David, why don't you tell me a little bit about what you were doing here today, what you were speaking to the associates about, and a little bit about mass mentoring too.
Sure. This was sort of a culmination of a relationship between Mass Mentoring and Bank of America, but we also hope it's a launching pad as well, sort of a critical juncture around mentoring and around Bank of America, its role in mentoring, which of course has been around financial investment in youth mentoring across the country, but to take it a step further and for it to be about associates being armed with the information at Bank of America and all employees so that they can get involved in their community by becoming mentors. And so we just, our thing is not to convince people to become mentors or tell them they have to be. That wouldn't make good mentors, but to give them all the information they need to make a wise decision and feel empowered to become mentors for our kids.
And tell me just a little bit about your organization, Mass Mentoring. What do you do? What is your focus?
Sure. Mass Mentoring Partnership in the state of Massachusetts is the umbrella for youth mentoring programs. We have about 165 mentoring programs serving 20,000 kids in our network. Our main purpose in life is to fuel them with the resources, whether they be money, mentors, training, advocacy at the State House, to get them the things they need to create quality connections between caring adult volunteers and kids. And so the idea of, one of the largest employers in our state giving us a platform to talk about mentoring and potentially get more of their employees mentoring in those programs is, just a tremendous opportunity for us.
Can you talk a little bit about how important is this mentoring relationship in the lives of the clients that you service? And even if an anecdote comes to mind, or if you have a story about one time in particular when you really saw a huge impact on a child's life, if you could talk about that for a little bit.
Sure. I mean, what I first want to say is that I equally hear from the mass mentoring perspective the stories of mentors who talk about their lives being changed as I do about kids. I hear about an opening of horizons. I hear about ending up at a picnic or a bar mitzvah or a graduation or a wedding of someone they never in life would have ended up at if they hadn't become a mentor. So I hear a lot about the mentor's life being changed. In terms of kids, there are so many different stories, but a lot of them deal with the same kind of thing. The self-esteem that comes from having a caring adult, a volunteer for no reason other than they believe in you, show up week after week. And so thus you start to think about what is available in your life. And I think about kids that have spoken at our events who have said sort of, I was shut in the dark and my mentor kind of opened the shades a little bit and showed me the light and got me out into the world. And so I just hear those stories in so many different complexions in the way a 10-year-old might say it or the way an 18-year-old might say it. I hear it from girls and boys, black, white, Latino, Asian, all different. It's the same kind of mentoring story that you hear about an opening of horizons and sort of a vision of what is possible for them in the world. And then what you have is through all the mundane moments of life, in the critical moments of either sharing the pride of their accomplishments or the despair of their challenges, they've got someone to call. They've got a foundation.
President Obama has really brought this issue of service to the forefront. He's made it a real centerpiece of early on in his administration. The federal government's getting behind it. Corporate America now is looking at service and volunteerism and mentoring specifically for youth as really being a key catalyst for what makes a good corporate citizen. You travel the country, you talk with colleagues across the country. As you think about service across the country and the important role it plays, can you talk a little bit about the role that corporate America needs to play to really make service a reality in this country and really make it part of our DNA?
Sure. That's a big question and a great question. Yeah, exactly. I think two things about it. Because I think as long as it is sidelined as a nice thing to do or a community service activity, it's got a chance to be effective in a limited way. And that is, this topic of volunteerism and service. When it becomes a business imperative, then it's going to change the world. And I think it is increasingly becoming a business imperative because a generation of folks is coming into the work world expecting that companies are going to give them a chance to volunteer and staying at companies where they have good experiences volunteering and see the connection to the community that the company has. It's an expectation. It's something we talk to the folks here today about is how proud they should be in their company because of what it is doing, what Bank of America is doing in the community. And I think you can say that all you want, but as an employee of a company, if you don't feel that in the actions of the company, that you don't believe it, And so I think that that's the shift that's going on. When a president makes that expectation on the world, when he sort of uses his bully pulpit to teach a generation that they should expect that and they should act in that way, I think it's going to seep into corporate America and the expectation's going to be there. And just like anything in the work world and in the business world, the folks that are in a move first position are going to be the most successful. And so I think the companies that embrace service and volunteerism the way that Bank of America has and embrace mentoring as a subset of service and volunteerism are going to see their employees stay and be much happier, and they're going to recruit and have a much deeper talent pool. And for a company this large, that's an incredibly important imperative, I would think.
That's great. And the last question, if you could just talk for a minute about the partnership between Mass Mentoring and Bank of America, what's involved with that, and maybe even historically what has been involved with that?
Yeah, so I think the guy who spends too much time in the nonprofit sector and becomes a cynic thinks that when someone tells you they want to partner with you, it means they just don't want to give you money. But in this case, that is exactly the opposite with Bank of America. They, from the beginning, have been investors in our work, but smart investors. Folks who thought about their philanthropic dollars and wanted to see results and didn't further invest in our work and in the field of mentoring until they saw those results, and then were willing to invest further. And then they said, we want this to be a deeper partnership. We want this to be something that we can be proud of in Massachusetts that goes throughout the country. And that is to go beyond the dollars and connect our employees with mentoring. And so from that point on, obviously personally, I've gotten the great privilege of being involved in NEI, the Neighborhood Excellence Initiative, and that's an incredibly innovative initiative that is more of a personal relationship for me. I get to bring the mentoring perspective into the room and see great student leaders and great other nonprofits. But I think as a company, the two ways that our organizations have really related is on this front of both sound investments in youth mentoring based on good information, which B of A always looks for before they make investments, and then this idea of allowing the employees to feel the investments they're making by investing their time and becoming mentors. And so we've had board members invest their time from B of A, and I just think that it's pervasive. Their partnership is not just with mass mentoring, it's with the field of mentoring across the state, and we're going to keep working to make that a deeper and more effective partnership. So it's a great one for us, and today is obviously something that is unlike anything we've done with any company. And so I think that speaks volumes as well, and we're hoping it will be a model for work we can do with lots of others as well.